Hello, I'm Jennifer and welcome to my library. I am a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who's really into permaculture and wants to talk about books. So let's talk about books. I'm going to talk about science fiction books that were written by women authors. This is something that I'm really interested in because I love science fiction. I also really love older science fiction. And sometimes when you read an older science fiction, you're bombarded with sexism and these really poorly written female characters, these plots that are not super engaging to me. I've read quite a handful of poorly written science fiction books, which makes sense because sci-fi was a huge genre, like a money-making genre, and they were publishing just a ton of science fiction. So not all of it is going to be great, but I have found science fiction from women authors is such a relief, such a breath of fresh air, because you get a different perspective. You have female characters that are better written. You have different types of plots. They are focused on different things. There is a whole different element to reading science fiction written by women. If you haven't given it a try, I would really recommend it. And so, without going more into it, I would love to dive into these wonderful books. So the first book, I'm just so thrilled about this, is Daughters of Earth by Judith Merril. This is a collection of 3 novellas or longer short stories that are women-centric. They're also very diverse in the type of story that they are. So there's 3 stories in here. There's Project Nursemaid, Daughters of Earth, and Home Calling. And it's just a really stunning collection. These are science fiction stories that explore the lives and struggles of women across different timelines and worlds. Judith Merril was born in 1923 and was a Canadian-American science fiction author, known for her significant contributions to the genre, particularly in promoting female voices. There is a story in here that is so cool, where there is basically this insectoid alien life form and there's this interesting fungus. It's very cool, very like ecological, super interesting. Oh my god. This book, this is such a cool book. This is Woman on the Edge of Time by Marge Piercy. And you know what? I should really read something else written by Marge Piercy because this book was so good and so unique. This is a novel that blends science fiction and social commentary elements, and it follows the journey of a woman who communicates with individuals from different futures. It highlights the issues of gender, society, and mental health. Marge Piercy was born in 1936, is an American poet, novelist, and social activist known for her feminist and political themes in her works. This book was probably my first introduction to permaculture. I read this quite a while ago. I know I picked this up from like a Salvation Army huge book bin when I was in high school or something, and then I read it a few years later. And I was just so impressed. I was a big science fiction reader when I was in college, and so I was thinking, okay, this is like a time travel kind of book. And when I was reading it, I was like, wow, this is really so much more. It is really eye-opening. There is huge social commentary. There is a lot about poverty and, yeah, also mental health. It is really excellent. It's been a while since I've read it, but this really did leave such a big impact on me. Next, I have a book that I have talked about on this channel before. That's Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. This is a time travel story as well. It is centered around the medieval period and it has themes on like epidemics. It does talk quite a lot about like viruses and stuff like that. So there is one part that is set in the present day, one part that is set in the past in the medieval period, and it follows a main character, Kivrin, who is the time travel student. She is going to the past to study history, and it is a book that encompasses so much. There is so much in this book. I mean, it's pretty thick, as you can see, but it was so compelling every page. This is a time travel tale set in both the 14th and 21st centuries, exploring the consequences of meddling with the past during a deadly outbreak. Connie Willis, born in 1945, is an American science fiction writer known for her intricate plots, engaging characters, and exploration of historical themes. Another book that I read last year that I just absolutely adored, and that's Planetfall by Emma Newman. Set on a distant planet colonized by humans, the story follows unraveling mysteries of the settlement's origins and the personal struggles of its inhabitants. Emma Newman, born in 1976, is a British science fiction and fantasy author known for her diverse characters and exploration of social issues. This book was just so cool to me. There were elements of it that just seemed so unique, even though it does have a plot line of, a group of colonists going to a distant planet because there's like some sort of calling, and the group associated with that fracturing, and kind of like common tropes that you would see in some of these science fiction stories. There's also 3D printing and stuff like that, but this was just written in such a unique and interesting and beautiful way. I loved this book. How far have we been in this video? And I haven't mentioned Ursula K. Le Guin, an angel. Just one of the coolest, most impactful science fiction writers of all time was a woman, Ursula K. Le Guin. She has written so many science fiction stories, super prolific, and for me, one of the great things about her is that she wrote short things, which I love. I love shorter fiction, and that was common in the era that she was writing, to publish quite a lot, but it is also high quality. So the first book that I ever read from Ursula K. Le Guin, I think, was Planet of Exile. This is book 2 in her Hainish, I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, cycle. I think it's a trilogy, and I do actually have the whole set up on my shelf over there, but this is the only one that I read, and I read this as an ace double feature, which I actually have Mankind Under the Leash by Thomas M. Dish on the other side, so that's pretty interesting. Anyway, this book was so cool and explored such cool concepts, really cool concepts about how it would be like to live on a planet where the seasons are so vastly long and different types of like human creatures. So cool. So this is a tale of 2 human colonies on a planet struggling to survive in the face of a harsh environment and cultural differences. Ursula K. Le Guin, born in 1929, was an American author known for her imaginative and thought-provoking works exploring themes of anthropology, sociology, and environmentalism. Another stunning story. The word for world is forest. This is a real environmental and colonization story. People have said that Avatar is a retelling of this story, but this story is so much more impactful than Avatar. In this, you have a native person fighting for themselves, which is such a breath of fresh air for those types of stories. This is set on a planet where humans exploit the native population and environment. The story explores themes of colonialism, environmentalism, and cultural clash. Really violent, really disturbing, but important. this book was great. And then we have a book, The Lathe of Heaven, which is very strange, a unique plot. This is a thought-provoking novel where a man's dreams alter reality, leading to unintended consequences and ethical dilemmas. Now again, I've gone this far into a book about women science fiction authors, and I haven't mentioned one of the most impactful women science fiction authors of our current era, and that is Becky Chambers. I only have one book by Becky Chambers, and that is A Closed and Common Orbit. This is a sequel to her book, What is that book called? This is a sequel to her book, A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. It follows some of the same characters. This, I think, is in her Wayfarer series, which I've only read those two books, A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet and this book here. I really enjoyed A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Oh my god, I just remembered another book. Oh, I have another book that I have to talk about. This book is a story of self-discovery and friendship as two characters navigate identity and purpose in a universe filled with diverse species and characters. Becky Chambers does a wonderful, wonderful job of exploring a bunch of different concepts in a very human way. This book follows two characters primarily, and there's explorations of their childhood and their present situation. I loved following the childhood of one of the main characters in this book. She's like a scrap recycler slave, and I just thought that story was so compelling. And yeah, their relationship in this book is also very compelling. For those who have read A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, Lovelace is one of the main characters of this book, who was the ship's AI in A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Becky Chambers, born in 1985, is an American science fiction author known for her optimistic and inclusive storytelling. I have to also mention the monk and robot duology. There is a book called... She has such great titles too, and I cannot remember them. So the first book is called A Psalm for the Wild Built. It follows a tea monk named Dex, and they are on a bit of a self-discovery experience. They go deep into the woods and find a robot who is interested in helping people. And this robot is one of, or I guess the first robot to interface with humans in a long, long time. And it's mostly about their relationship and their environment. Becky Chambers writes in hope punk, which in my opinion is basically like solar punk. I don't know, it's like a hopeful future, which I love. I love the ability for people to write science fiction or books about our future that show us a way to live sustainably. I think it's amazing. These books are very, very short, and I did have a slight disconnect where I just thought there could be more, and I was just slightly disappointed in these books. The second book is A Prayer for the Crown Shy, which is just a continuation of A Psalm for the Wild Build. The next book we have is again by a huge, huge science fiction great, and that is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. This was an amazing, amazing read. I read this book for the first time this year, and I loved every moment of it. I read it in 2 days. I just couldn't stop. I couldn't put it down. This is set in a dystopian future America ravaged by social and environmental collapse. The novel follows a young woman's journey to create a new belief system based on empathy and community. Octavia E. Butler, born in 1947, was an influential African-American science fiction writer known for her exploration of race, gender, and power dynamics. This book is just so cool. This book is so cool. It's near future. It's set in 2024 and 2026, And how close it is to reality, honestly, it just feels so prevalent and relevant to our lives currently. And I just love the environmental aspects. It is really stunning how many women science fiction authors choose to focus on the environmental aspects and biological aspects of science fiction. It is really, really compelling to me as a reader. All right, I read this book several years ago when I was in college. It is Space Opera by Catherine M. Valente. Sorry, I have like one of the worst covers with like all of these various barcodes and such on it. I bought it used from a library, clearly. Space opera is set in a universe where civilizations compete in a musical contest to prove their worthiness to join the cosmic community. Earth's unlikely representatives must navigate the absurdity of interspecies politics and save humanity from annihilation. This book is so absurd, so wonderful and fun. It is one of the most fun science fiction books I've ever read. It is just exciting. It's just a fun idea. It's a fun concept. It's really creative. It reads like it would fit into a Douglas Adams. It's just in that fun, exploratory, ridiculous world of like the big universe with many cultures. There's huge exploration of different types of creatures and cultures. And it was a really good time. Catherine M. Valente, born in 1979, is an American author known for her inventive storytelling, lush prose, and blending of literary genres, including fantasy, science fiction, and myth. And then the very last book that I have today is The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. I read this book last year and I really, really liked it. It was so interesting. I just recently read Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson, and I prefer this book. If you are a big fan of like the terraforming subgenre, I guess, I think you'd really enjoy this book. And if you did enjoy Red Mars, I do think you would also enjoy this book, but this just has something that makes it a little bit more, I just had a hard time with Red Mars. Maybe a me problem, maybe a book problem, but this book was so compelling to me. In a future where humanity seeks to colonize distant planets, this novel explores the ethical dilemmas and personal conflicts arising from terraforming efforts and corporate interests. That was one thing that was so interesting about this, the whole corporate aspect. This planet is started, the terraforming effort is started by a corporate entity and for profit. So the idea of not being like a scientific venture, but being a corporate venture is so interesting to explore. Annalee Newitz, born in 1969, is an American author, journalist, and editor known for her work in science fiction, technology, and social commentary. Now I gotta do the thumbnail before my battery dies. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found some wonderful new authors to read from, wonderful new science fiction books to read from. It is so wonderful getting diverse perspectives into your reading. So I hope you found something from this that you'll love. And as always, thank you for watching. If you like this, please consider sharing it with a friend who you think would also like it. And as always, I will see you again soon. Goodbye.